All right, let's talk about a mental model that can totally change the game for you as a product leader. We're going to break down the difference between a mindset that actually creates possibilities for your team and one that, well, shuts them down one by one.
It all kind of kicks off with this brilliant quote from Steve Chandler. You know, we usually think of optimism and pessimism as just attitudes, right? Like different glasses we wear to see the same world. But what if it's way deeper than that? What if they're actually active forces?
And that leads us to the big question for today. What if your mindset isn't just a passive filter? What if it's a powerful algorithm that is literally building or destroying the reality of what's possible for your team?
So that brings us to our first big idea. As a leader, your mindset isn't just some running commentary on how the project is going. Nope. Every thought you have is a move on the board. It's a strategic choice that either opens up the playing field or boxes you in. Think of it like two competing operating systems. On one hand, you've got the constrictive mindset. This thing is basically a possibility-destroying algorithm. It's programmed to find reasons why things won't work. But on the other hand, you have the expansive mindset, which is a possibility-creating algorithm. Its whole job is to generate options and ask, what if? And here's the absolute key to all of this. The world of options isn't fixed. As a product leader, your mindset is what determines what even shows up on the menu for your team. You're not just picking an option, you are literally writing the menu from which everyone else has to choose. Okay, let's make this a little more visual. We're going to look at the central framework for this whole concept, which I love, the funnel of possibility. It's a really simple way to see how these two mindsets play out in the real world.
So first up, we have the constrictive mindset, or what we can call the closing funnel. You start with a problem, that's the wide end of the funnel, but then the thinking process just starts eliminating solutions, systematically shutting down every idea, narrowing and narrowing until all you're left with is a dead end, a single point of failure.
And I bet this dialogue sounds painfully familiar, right? Okay, here's the problem. We could try X, but that'll never work. We could do Y, but we don't have a budget. Oh, and Z? Yeah, we tried that 2 years ago, and it was a disaster. Every single but is another door slamming shut, shrinking that funnel down to nothing. But now, let's flip it completely. Let's look at the expansive mindset, the opening funnel. You start with the exact same problem, but instead of shutting things down, this process systematically generates new pathways, opening up into this huge, wide-open frontier of creative options. The language here is just fundamentally different. It's all built on curiosity. Okay, here's the problem. So what if we tried X? What would that unlock for us? Ooh, that's interesting. And if we did X, could that then let us do Y? Each question builds on the last, pushing the walls of the funnel wider and wider. This, right here, is where real innovation is born. Okay, so theory is great, but how do you actually use this? You know, when you're in the trenches, staring down the deadline, or dealing with some nasty tech debt. Let's get into the actual, actionable playbook. First things first, I want you to think about your job title a little differently. Forget product manager or director of product for a second. Starting right now, your new role is Chief Expansion Officer. And as the Chief Expansion Officer, this is your job description. You're going to ban that constrictive language in meetings. You're going to start hiring people who think this way naturally, and this one is huge. You have to protect your possibility creators, the people with the wild ideas, from getting shot down too early. It's your job to celebrate bold experiments, even the ones that fail, because of what you learn, and you have to lead by example. And here is a super simple guide you can literally give your team tomorrow. Teach them to recognize their own funnel. The single most powerful tactical change you can make? Swap out yes, but for yes, and. It's a classic for a reason. And just make what if the official kickoff for any brainstorm. It's the key that unlocks the whole thing. Now, if you really want to make this stick, you have to measure it. Start counting how many different solutions your team comes up with for a single problem before settling on one. Actually, listen for the ratio of yes and to yes but comments in your meetings. And maybe the most important one, after a big strategy session, just ask the room, do we feel like we have more possibilities now or fewer? Their answer tells you everything about which mindset is really in charge.
Look, I get it. This can feel a little abstract. So if you need proof that this works under the most extreme pressure imaginable, there is no better example than one of the boldest projects in all of human history, the Apollo program.
Just think about the challenge. It's the early 1960s. The goal is to put a person on the moon and bring them home safely. With the technology they had back then, this was pure science fiction. It was completely absurd.
And you better believe that the constrictive mindset was everywhere. It was the voice of reason, of logic. It said the technology doesn't exist. The computers are basically toys. It's too dangerous. It's impossible. And if that voice had won, we would have never even left orbit.
But the leaders at NASA, they operated differently. For every single "it's impossible," they fired back with a what if. What if we don't land the whole ship? What if the main computer fails? What if we build a massive mission control center on the ground to help? They didn't ignore the problems. They used them as launching pads for incredible new possibilities. And this is the part that gives me goosebumps. They didn't find a path to the moon. They created it. They literally manufactured possibility out of thin air, one what-if question at a time.
Okay, so let's bring this back down to earth for a second. This isn't about promoting unrealistic, blue sky dreaming that never actually ships a product. That's a super important distinction to make. The full creative process actually needs both mindsets. You have to start with divergent, expansive thinking to generate a ton of options. But then, after that, you switch to convergent, constrictive thinking to analyze those options and pick the best one. The trap that almost every team falls into is jumping to that second part way too fast, killing brilliant ideas before they even have a chance to breathe. So, I'm going to leave you with one final question to really think about. In your team's culture, right now, today, is it safer for someone to be a critic? Or is it safer for them to be a creator? To throw out a bold, new, maybe even half-baked idea? Your honest answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about which funnel your team is really operating in.